To this episode of the We Are Ready podcast. I have a really cool panel for you this morning. I can't wait to get these guys on camera. We have Jim from Narcotics, and this is number one, and we have Rainfire from Velar. We're also going to have Mr. Wagmi from Mr. Wagmi's NFT now join us on the discussion here in a little bit. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Flagship for being the sponsor of this broadcast. Flagship is a really cool project that I wish would have existed when I was just getting started. Basically, Flagship allows retail people like us to learn about different crypto projects. And then Flagship is also, it's much bigger than that. It's bigger than a community. It's bigger than an information hub. Although that's the part that I'm actually a part of. I'm the captain for the Stacks Outpost, so I tend to write content to inform the Flagship community of what's going on in Stacks. And there are other outpost captains doing the same things for other blockchains and other networks. That's very cool. And in addition to that, Flagship is kind of leading the way in financial products that will be offered to retail. And you should really check this out, because this is kind of the theme of the show today: building on Bitcoin with an eye to the future. And I very much encourage you to go check out Flagship, see what they're building over there. This is going to be how a lot of us invest in the future, and more than likely how your non-crypto friends and family wind up investing in the future. So check it out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll this intro and get started.
How's it going, guys?
Brilliant.
Good morning.
Good morning. Wagmi.
Good morning.
Good.
Am I still frozen?
I can hear you now. You froze for a second, but we can hear you.
That's all right. I've got a face made for writing anyway. How y'all doing today?
I would say your stare game is on point, Jack.
Yeah, I never lose a staring contest, man. Never. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm really excited about this panel. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a great discussion. With us today, we have Jim from Narcotics, and this is number one. Jim is an OG in Bitcoin as well as the Stacks ecosystem. Very forward thinker. Just really a visionary in a lot of ways. And we also have Rainfire, a real name Mithil from Velar, who is building a DeFi platform on Stacks for Bitcoin, which is in testing now. It's a very cool platform. I'm very happy with it. And then we have Mr. Wagmi, who is the host and creator of Mr. Wagmi's NFT Live. A very good friend, very big proponent of Stacks and Bitcoin and decentralization. So with all that in mind, let's just go ahead and get started. Jim, just take a few minutes here and let us know what's going on with the Narcotics. You all had a very big announcement this week, and I think it would be cool for the audience to know what you're actually working on.
Yeah, well, so the Narcotics collection is something that we've been working on for about a year and a half now, in conjunction with Chemical X, the artist that we've been working with kind of from up to the beginning of our journey in Stacks. And it's a sort of sci-fi type storyline about a population who are, I guess, trapped in the future metaverse that has been cleansed of all experience. And so it's the idea is that there's a kind of black market starting up in these digital pills, which give sometimes quite outrageous, sometimes fairly mundane experiences that are sort of part of the human experience. There's 3,333 unique individual pills. Each of them have their own unique makeup in terms of compounds. They have an expression on the front of them as well, which is like that little face that you can see there. And like I said, they've all got unique effects and side effects, which are quite funny. They also, what we actually launched this week, we've been turning up the heat on the website in conjunction with Procrastinate Pixels, who are behind the collection's guests, and Nonish, who's just been working on some absolutely amazing sort of Web 2 meets Web 3 technology, which we're very happy to be sort of demoing. We have, first of all, we launched our loyalty point system. So anyone who mints anything through This Is Number One actually earns loyalty points at a rate of 1 point per stacks spent. And that was the first foray into using this amazing software from Procrastinate Pixels. But now in the last week, we finally launched a full yield platform. So now every single pill yields compounds which are going to be used in the future collections for building more collections and building bigger and better things. Go and check out the website, narcotics.systems, because there you can sort of have a look at what's going on. There's going to be mixing coming soon. So there's lots of stuff going on where you can take these compounds and expression compound that you're earning and do all sorts of amazing things with them. So we only just kind of quietly launched that about a week ago, because it was quite a big upgrade and we were quite nervous about making sure everything worked. But so far so good. Everyone's been retweeting their narcotics pills. You can go on Twitter and use the hashtag narcotics, and you can have a look at some of the crazy pills that people have been tweeting out about. It's
really cool. You're so close to this that you don't realize like the mouthful you just said in terms of what this actually means. And I want to go get to that here in a moment, because you just said a lot, and it's amazing to think about. But I'll like I said, you're so close to it. You just
I'm probably rushing through it a bit because
but it's profound in so many ways. And so real quick, before we delve a little further into that, why don't we find out what's going on with Velar right now, and just kind of give the audience an idea of what your platform is about and your vision for DeFi on Bitcoin, basically.
For sure, Adam. First of all, Jim, amazing project, man. Amazing branding. I love the name. It's amazing. Kudos to that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So talking about Velar, so we started Velar with a very specific vision in mind. We are so crypto is like all of us in the team. We believe crypto is our home, and the ethos that crypto was developed with in the first time itself is that crypto wanted to give the world a fallback option in case the centralized systems doesn't work, and wanted to build a completely open and a decentralized financial system which can be used by anyone, which is accessible to anyone. And the engine to that was the proof of work consensus mechanism that was used for the first time when bringing Bitcoin to life. So we still believe proof of work is the most efficient way to run a decentralized financial system on. And when Ethereum moved to POS, there was literally not any mature infrastructure left for DeFi with POW as its consensus. So we decided to build it ourselves with Velar. And Velar's vision is very clear. We want to build the entire user-facing DeFi infrastructure with Bitcoin finality, with POW, basically, the proof of work consensus. And so that was how Velar began. And love the support that we are getting from Stacks ecosystem, because we chose Stacks as the layer 2 for launching the first version of Velar, which is Velar Dharma, and which is also live on the testnet. So why we chose to do this on to build this infra on L2, I have a very interesting analogy for that. So I see L1 as a huge metropolis, a huge city in the country, and a city has a limited set of infrastructure. And it can only accommodate a certain number of people, a certain number of businesses. So when a city grows, you need suburbs, and those suburbs usually have the same governance, same legislation, but better infrastructure to accommodate more people, while still being in the vicinity of the city, the metropolis, right? So I see these L2s that are developing on Bitcoin as those suburbs, alongside the Bitcoin L1, which still use the security and, in this sense, the proof of work consensus of Bitcoin, but they provide a much scalable infrastructure to build a scalable DeFi infrastructure on top of, because Bitcoin as an L1 has a very limited block space, has a fixed block time. It is just impossible. Even we are seeing right now with Ordinals, which is really great. I mean, we were very early in Ordinals. I really support Ordinals, but even with few 100,000 Ordinals coming per day, the Bitcoin block space is completely filled. The transactions fees have gone up on an average 10x from what they were 3 months ago. So it shows that to build a scalable DeFi infra, we need to use L2s, and we need to
Right.
use not just one L2 but multiple L2s. So that's what our vision was, and we built Velar Dharma, which is the first version, as a DEX and the IDO launchpad on Stacks. And we have, as I said, we have future versions planned, in which we bring in much more complex DeFi products. But as the industry right now is I would say nascent in a way that it's still exploring where the industry would go in future, which kind of use cases would be needed as more people join this particular ecosystem. So we are open to that, and we'll see how it goes in future.
Man, look, you done did the same thing Jim did. You just said a whole lot with a lot to unpack. We're just gonna have to start making this like a 4-hour podcast. Mr. Wagmi, do me a favor, brother. Let's dumb this down real quick, and before we start digging into the meat of this, how you doing today, man?
Doing great. Still waking up a little bit. I got a big old pot of coffee in front of me, but we are making our rounds. So, how are you, Jack?
I'm okay, man. I'm in the same neighborhood you're in. I'm pretty tired. You have an interesting perspective because you've been in crypto a long time. You found Stacks, and you kind of found what you were looking for, and you get it. You're one of the guys that get it. You understand decentralization, and yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on with NFT Live right now. What you got coming up? You had the guys from what is it, Lunar?
Yep.
On recently. Yeah.
Yeah, the Nakamoto One team.
That's right.
So just as a little bit of introduction to me, prior to crypto, I was in the Web 2 space, I guess you'd call it, for about 10 plus years or so. Got into Bitcoin in 2017. Started just trying to understand it, and I think like many of you, once you kind of really peel back the curtains, you go, aha, this is really cool. And then about 2020, actually 2021, I would say at the very beginning, came across Stacks, and I felt that aha feeling again. And, just like as Rainfire was saying, you start thinking about the possibilities with L2 computing, and it just kind of opens up Pandora's box for you. And, what I've been doing over the past year or so is in my spare time doing like a online Twitter space where we meet with various different NFT artists and essentially kind of talk about their art, maybe some of the utility that could potentially be behind that. But the goal of it, I feel like a lot of people go on websites and they just kind of see the art and they, take it at face value. But who are the people that are actually creating that? What are their passions? What are their motivations? And, maybe there's things that an artist is trying to communicate through their art that you're not just picking up from an initial look. That's one thing I've learned a lot about that. So it's really neat to get to meet all of those creators. And I've also, taken an emphasis on people that are developing applications as well. because I think that's a critical part of the conversation is, you know, what could we also be doing in this space from an application layer perspective. And, you know, that's one of the biggest reasons why I really got hooked on to Stacks. And, you know, lastly, with the big Ordinals movement, that is something else that excites me a lot. And, you know, I'm even hearing about just other things out there that are being created right now that I'm still kind of vetting, that was done at the Bitcoin conference recently. So there's just so much being built. You know, I think you would all agree that you miss one day and you hop on Twitter or something like that, you're like, oh gosh, I've been gone for 5 years.
Right.
So,
and
yeah.
And we're sitting right here, and I pay attention to crypto Twitter. It's how I keep my finger on the pulse. And right now, there's a lot of, you know, just this post meme coin malaise where everyone's like, "Oh my God, crypto's a scam again," and how we're ever going to be taken seriously, and just all of this, just I don't know, it's weak sauce, man. It's kind of whack. Because the way I see this is you have to look at, oh cool, Dash is here. Awesome. Welcome, Dash. The way I look at this is quite simple. And I think that if you're looking at crypto, if you're trying to follow hype cycles, you're going to get wrecked every time. Okay. By the time you've got the hype cycle, you're going to get wrecked. This is not how you crypto. I've cryptoed that way, and it leads to tears, I promise you. But if you pay attention to what's going on and you know where to look, you can see things that are bullish, that are quite bullish. And one of the things that I believe, I've been thinking about this quite a bit the past couple of days, is, you know, thinking back on very early internet days, and like what compelled me to get my first email address, what compelled me to start using the internet and start using these things, you know, to actually become, you know, more than just someone who knows about the internet, but to actually be an internet user and a consumer and all of these different things. And basically a part of that is going to be, what is the real world use case for what's being done. And real world use case, the biggest thing that Bitcoin has is the ability to send money to anyone in the world. And people are so used to using things like credit cards and debit cards, they don't understand like what actually goes into getting your money from point A to point B. Right. So if your baseline is Bitcoin is just technological marvel in that way, that's already a pretty big deal. And these other things that are then going to be built upon Bitcoin, this idea of a financial system that will eventually be built upon Bitcoin, which is we're watching the building blocks of that take place right now. You're watching that with wallets. You're watching that with projects like Velar. You're watching that happen in real time. And then you're like, well, what has crypto done already aside from number go up? Well, you're in a speculative phase of a technological development. There's going to be some number go up. That's unavoidable. Early adopters, you know, people looking for profits, they're coming. But if you take NFTs for instance, NFTs at the very base level, you have this non-fungible thing that can be used to identify you, and then maybe identify you as part of a community, and maybe do this. And here we are now talking about NFTs and DeFi, which again, DeFi, big experimentation, right? This new way to do things comes out around what, 2016 or so. And then what's that look like? Well, you try a bunch of things, you see what works, you see what doesn't, and you build upon them. So when we're talking about this is number one, which you know, is the parent collection, the original team that has brought narcotics. When y'all started out, y'all were trying to solve a few problems. You wanted artists to be able to get royalties for their work, you know, because you were very sensitive to that, because y'all come up in the music industry, right?
Yeah.
You wanted to bring artists collections to an audience. You wanted to curate this, so you bring real big name people. The original This Is Number One collection contains icons. You have literal icons who contributed to that collection, and it's a shame that a lot of new entrants don't really understand. You definitely need to go check out their website. But and now we're at narcotics, where not only have you built upon all of these things, but you're literally incorporating DeFi technology, things that were used and discovered experimenting with DeFi, to NFTs, therefore evolving NFTs, right? And then that got me thinking, well, you have this, you have these whole new way of looking at NFTs. Now we've added this whole new formula to the mix. What does that ultimately look like? And that's really cool. That's what you want to see. You have to see this evolution. And as long as you see this evolution and you're paying attention to that, and not just paying attention to meme coins or influencers or whatever, then you understand. Then you see, hey, this is cool stuff happening. I need to pay attention because this is probably going to be important. So when you take what you're doing, and then it's a very interesting time right now too, because ordinals are pictures on the blockchain. That's how some people think of it, right? NFTs are pictures on the blockchain. Cool, if that's how you conceptualize it. But the reality is, an ordinal is different than an NFT. And now we're sitting here, especially on Bitcoin, where with Ethereum, you had the main chain, everyone's using it, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, we need a layer 2 because this is really expensive. I don't want to pay $400 to send $40 worth of bitch token or whatever nonsense token that you've invested in. That just doesn't work. So how about these L2s? With Bitcoin, we've had kind of a reverse thing, and it was interesting. It was a panel you were on, Jim, where people were talking about, how do we make ordinals work for the artists, because it's just getting so expensive to use. And you even said this, you're like, we had a solution for this problem before anyone even knew it was a problem, because it wasn't a problem, because all you could do with Bitcoin 6 months ago was buy it and hold it, right? You could transact with it. So we have the layer 2 solution already existing, and NFTs, you can just do more with NFTs than you can with ordinals, even though I fully understand the value proposition of ordinals. So basically, what do you think, Jim? Like, first, I'd like to hear your thoughts on, what was the inspiration for this this really cool, basically a DeFi application being brought over to make NFTs, to kind of create this, not just this new genre of NFT, but you guys are kind of like looking at, what does the future of interacting with your crypto wallet even look like? So I think that's a really good place to mine. So let's take a little bit of time and just kind of filter out all of my rambling there, and make something amazing happen.
I mean,
Go.
the thing I think with narcotics, when we started, is because part of the beauty of it is that it gives us a really great sandbox to experiment with new ideas. Because of the nature of who we work with, a lot of them are very well known artists, as well as not known artists who we just really appreciate. But it's always a third party, and with narcotics, it really gave us an opportunity to create a collection that we didn't have to be precious. We didn't have to be worrying about someone else's work so much, and we could be really experimental. And I think we've spoken with you, Jack, quite a lot about it. How what we were hoping to do was build something that was almost a framework that the users could tell us what can be done with it. That's where we're sort of moving towards, is to try to see what the users come up with that's outside of maybe the things that we might think of. And so, yes, some of the elements of what we've built here is to try to get the community to kind of somehow help in the evolution of where this goes. And we try not to create any dead ends in that way, trying to make everything as open as possible and keep the development minds also open to pivoting or adding new products if it looks like there is a need for it.
It's really cool. Dash, do you have anything to add? Maybe not. All right, let's go on. Dash is always a little shy about talking. That's why whenever I need a talker for this is number one, I just grab Jim.
A lot of good stuff to say. I mean, I think he's out and about. He may be on his phone, so it may be that he's having a bit of a service disruption right now.
Yeah,
I think he's joined. Definitely wants to say.
I have a point.
Yeah,
I have a point. I really like what you said, that in crypto, even what I have experienced throughout 7 years of being in crypto is that you can't chase waves. Okay, so I see how like there are small bubbles forming in form of micro bull markets in the overall bull cycles and bear cycles that we are going through, and a lot of them moves in waves. A huge wave would come, for example, of there was like DeFi summer in 2020, then NFT summer in 2021, and if you try to chase it, you can't win. I mean, that's the worst way people try to operate in crypto, and that's why most of the people in crypto lose money over a long period of time, right? The best thing to do is to understand really like what crypto needs and build something that really would be useful in future and really make sense, and then just ride the wave whenever it comes.
I mean, just like you said, it's just like you start paddling. If you're actually surfing or bodyboarding, you paddle in front of the wave, not behind it or on top of it.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
As the wave is coming, that's how you catch the wave. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is a good one. This is a good one for you. What do you think about as someone who's building a financial infrastructure? And you talked about the price of using the layer one, in this case, Bitcoin. What do you think about L2s in terms of we believe one day that there'll be something called hyper Bitcoinization, where everyone's or most everyone's using Bitcoin to transact. How do you think what does that actually look like as we see the block space become more and more valuable? It seems to me self-evident that L2s are the way to go. And when you're thinking about that, I mean, do you think we'll just ever see, kind of what we think of as a financial institution today, like a Visa or a MasterCard? Do we think we'll see the crypto equivalent of it that is running on an L2 or its own L2 and just settles the transaction in batches or so forth? What do you think that's going to kind of look like? And I mean, are you going to build that?
I love you asked this question. I have a very interesting analogy to talk on this. I have been thinking of this for years, and I'm not kidding. The word you said, hyper Bitcoinization, right? So I see that happen also, but actually the most sustainable way hyper Bitcoinization would happen is not by companies using, it will not be by companies forcefully using Bitcoin or just leaving the centralized systems or kicking them out and just using decentralized systems, but when actually crypto seeds or Bitcoin seeds into day-to-day life in a way that people don't even realize they are using crypto. That would be real hyper Bitcoinization, that
Right.
You are doing a transaction and you don't even know if it's a transaction which will eventually be finalized on Bitcoin. It can be layer 3 also. I mean, you understand my point, that we are building an infra or the world that we want to see and want our future generations to see is that of an open world. Like you also mentioned last time, that open and an open world means freedom. And by open, I mean open to use for everyone, open for anyone to join. And that's what Bitcoin provides. So Bitcoin is two things. Bitcoin is the store of value, which is Bitcoin itself, and the proof of work consensus, which provides an open system to build DeFi on top of it, right? So I would see the DeFi to evolve in next few decades is that there will be layers on top of Bitcoin, which will be so scalable. It can be layer 2, it can be layer 3 specific or application specific dApps built on few more layers above the layer 2 that we are seeing today, but with openness, security, and finality eventually on Bitcoin. We would see this world in a day-to-day life where even if we are going to grocery store, the transactions are eventually going on Bitcoin or are finalized by the proof of work open mechanism that we are seeing. Or if we are going to a restaurant, we are paying something by that. So yes, there will be many uh, intermediary what, how do you call it, like stakeholders. They can be Visa, they can be MasterCard, or there can be Lightning also. So that's what Lightning is doing. Lightning is a payment system which I would say is the closest like form of crypto based Visa or MasterCard, where they are trying to use different layers on top of Bitcoin to facilitate basically day-to-day transactions. So that is a different pillar of how one side of the DeFi would look like. The other side is the complex financial systems, including derivatives, perp dexes, options, insurance products, and bonds built on Bitcoin to run the whole decentralized financial system, which is a completely different pillar. And then we have Ordinals, which is like the most exciting pillar right now that's being developed on top of Bitcoin, which I would say is in if I would have to define Ordinals in 2 words, it's immutable data. It's not NFTs on Bitcoin, it's immutable data on
Right.
Bitcoin. And probably why Ordinals are very interesting is because for the first time in history of mankind, we are seeing pure immutable data, uh, which will stay until end of humanity or end of Bitcoin. I mean, whichever happens first,
Right.
Uh, but this kind of applications which we are seeing uh, develop in different, I would say, pillars, and all of them will flourish in their own directions. I think it's incomparable to what we have seen before, and it's what keeps me up at night working 24/7.
No, understandable, man. That's you had some great insight there, especially like the point where we don't fully understand the impact that ordinals and Bitcoin are going to have on the world. I mean, imagine this is like, I don't know, this is like the Library of Alexandria, never being able to burn down meets the Gutenberg printing press, right? I mean, you've just changed the whole trajectory of mankind. It's a very esoteric conversation that'd be cool to have one day. So, Mr. Wagme, with your finger on the pulse of stacks, Bitcoin, NFTs, and you also have a pretty interesting. I don't want to overshare here, because we talk a lot, but like you are a Bitcoin apologist, right? You do kind of spread the word and talk to the unwashed non-believers, who exist out there. You in your professional life, you deal with a lot of professional people who really are going to be or would be the next users of blockchain technology. So from your perspective and the feedback you get when you talk to people, what do you think is the thing that people just don't get, that when they get this one thing, it opens the door for them to explore further? Because when we're talking about stuff we're talking about now, this is, we've been around this so long, it's just kind of, like I said, it's esoteric to the regular person. They're not really paying attention to things like that. What's the right now thing that you hear just talking to normies, so to speak?
Yeah. And how I would kind of slice that is, from the people that whether I'm advocating for stacks and I'm talking to maxis, or advocating for Bitcoin and talking to just normal people out there. To me, it comes down to a lot of perspective. What are your experiences in life? Because typically you're going to digest that based off of things that you've learned. And in many cases, one of the things, like with hardcore Bitcoiners, that, in chatting with some of them off to the side is, well, I'll add another element to that too. What are your motivations as well? Because, people will push certain things based off of their motivations. But, for a lot of it is understanding how commerce works and how applications work, and then how it can play into this type of ecosystem. And I think, if people can kind of grasp how we could take, applications that are built today and deploy them in a decentralized manner, they would have those aha moments. And for normies that are out there, they're so used to a physical world. What can I see with, my own eyes? And truthfully, there's so much digitation occurring around everyone. Like, look at the kids that are playing Fortnite and then they're buying V-Bucks online. You know what I mean? Can you hold the V-Bucks? No, you can't. And I think it's just a matter of understanding how we can use these tools that are available at our fingertips to, like Rainfire said, make an open system for everyone that anyone can participate in. And then we can, take it far and wide with these additional layers and start creating applications that serve different use cases, whether that's DeFi or that's blogging or that's video games, or in addition to that, I would say, like, from a programming perspective too, is there's so many processes out there today that we could just make so much quicker, so much cheaper. I one of the common examples I say is like going to the DMV. Whenever you get your car, you got to go there and register it and pay your taxes and all that stuff, and it takes forever. And I just can't help but think, like, what if that was a smart contract? And you could just do updates on the fly and everything would be more streamlined, and it would be reportable. Like, the data we would see would be so much quicker. It's for both different people that we're talking about there. I think it just comes down to understanding the technology, but you got to first understand where we're coming from. You have to understand the existing world and then understand this new world. And then you go, oh, wow, this could just do so much more and do it more fairly and do it more open and more quicker. So, yeah.
Right. I mean, if I'm, sitting here today, if someone asked me why Bitcoin, I would say because fiat currency is the root cause of so much injustice and pain in the world. That takes a while to get to that point, right? Most people, when they come into the space, at least when I came into this space, it was, oh wow, what's this thing that everyone's getting rich on and I'm not? And then you just look, you learn, right? But I'm of the personal opinion that one of the things that we really haven't seen yet, but we're going to see soon, is we're going to see the next big thing, that in order to participate in it, you're going to need a crypto wallet of some kind. With that, and I think that it's probably going to be a video game or something like a game. And I could be totally wrong, but it's just like, it goes back to that old trope that you take pornography, for instance, led to the rise of VCR players, right? There's always a
catalyst,
a reason, right? There's a catalyst why these things come, and I think with gaming being so big, that's probably going to be our catalyst, because there's a lot of things like you're talking about when you brought up the DMV. There's so many applications we could use this technology in right now that make a lot of sense that you can't, because of existing laws and regulations and all of these things that just take time to deal with. But something like gaming's not. Another thing that's a very cool concept is the idea of using like NFTs for event tickets, right? You get rid of, and the first company that offers event tickets markedly cheaper than what they can get in a Web2 alternative is going to make a lot of people just go ahead and download that crypto wallet and use it. And I think things like that, and those are the steps that will eventually lead to, like what Mithil said, with hyper Bitcoinization occurs when no one knows what chain they're using, right? No one knows, they're just using this thing to go about their lives, right?
They're just using a product. That's what they need, is just to know this application does what I need it to do. They don't need to know about crypto or blockchain or any of that. They just need to what that works.
Yeah. I have a small point I missed, that why this is very important for people to use Bitcoin or blockchain without them knowing that they're using it, because actually, let's be fair, people don't care if Instagram, if you're using Instagram, if it's the data is stored on blockchain, or if it's private or it's not, right? But the thing is, and it would sound a bit sarcastic, but people don't care about decentralization until their bank accounts get frozen,
Right.
And that's why
100%.
and that's why an open system is needed, because I have seen me in my family, like bank accounts get frozen, banks go down left, right, center, and people lose money. All these things happen because when people exploit the centralized systems. I'm not saying centralized systems are wrong, but people using it for their own benefit is what makes it wrong. And that's why we need a decentralized system which is completely open.
Yeah.
As
No,
the
I
basis,
agree.
and then people can build centralized applications on top of that. That's how it sort of should go. This is when we're talking about layer 2s, layer 3s, the infinite amount of layers you can have. We've got something in Stacks coming up called subnets, and the idea is that if I'm dealing with a company that I trust, I don't need to walk into that company and insist that every word that I say or everything that we do within that company is decentralized and written to the blockchain, because I trust those guys, and it's going to be way, way quicker to utilize the trust that we have to do some processes quickly and then finalize the processes on the blockchain, not to try and do the entire process in a completely decentralized way. I think when people sort of come round to that and go, if I walk into a trusted company, I do not need to insist that every operation in that company is decentralized. I just want to know that the finalization of the ledger is really secure. But like for example, when we've been minting some music, one of the things that we're still dealing with that we can't do with Ordinals is put music out. The compression just isn't there. It's not even feasible, even if we took the sort of 4 megabyte blocks to actually put out high quality audio. So something that we have to sort of be thinking about is how can we sort of utilize the Ordinals linking to something that is layer 2 to still facilitate a good distribution mechanic for musicians or artists that doesn't insist that everything needs to be immutable data, because it just doesn't. Certainly with things like music, when you've got a band that's got thousands of followers, those followers are storing it. They are the blockchain. If you have a bunch of fans, that music is not going anywhere. Those people are storing it on their phones, their computers, it's on the internet. You don't have to worry about it disappearing. Maybe at the end of your career and it's all finished, and people are stopping listening, you might want to put some stuff somewhere. But at the end of the day, it's not necessary. And I think drawing the line as to what needs to be, stored in that way and what doesn't, with a subnet, we could feasibly mint 1 million NFTs in a day. But the users have to know that they're operating on our subnet, which allows this speed because it has lower security, because we are centralizing that process. But then the idea would be that once those million are minted, we can now slowly, in an orderly fashion, if they want to, those users can say, okay, I want to move this to the layer 2. Now I want to move it to the layer 1. They can do all of this off their own backs, but it still allows us to provide a much better service when we can say you can mint 1 million NFTs today. We can go to a platinum selling artist and say, yeah, we can do this. So there's a lot to be. I think people are sort of coming around to the idea. I think it always happens with new technology. We've been being a Bitcoin proponent for a long time. We've been giving these arguments to people, and they don't see the importance, because like if you said, it's like people don't really care about decentralization or security until their security has failed them, and until that, people have this false sense of security, even though they are
ownership in general. I mean, Bitcoin redefines what ownership actually means. Most people, what they think of ownership is not actually ownership.
Like owning money that someone is debasing. I had to explain this to my son, who's 8 the other day. He really wanted me to explain inflation, and all I could think of to do is explain it to him through something that he plays with, which is Pokemon cards. And I was like, imagine if you had the only pack of Pokemon cards in the world, and you're just like, man, I've got a full monopoly. But then suddenly the company that told you you're the only holder, they suddenly went, oh, actually, we're going to start making more. And he was like, "Oh, that would be bags." And other people would have it. There you go. You get it. That's money,
Right. Here's 40 trillion more. Have fun with your Pokemon cards, kid. No, y'all really are adding so much to this conversation, and there's so much to talk about. I think one of the things that I would be upset if we didn't get to cover a little bit was the fact that you know, when Ordinals came about, and I think Ordinals are massive, and I think it makes a lot of sense for people to try to get in on something new like that as quickly as possible, and get all of the opportunity they can, especially if you're a creator. But Ordinals are not the death of NFTs by any stretch of the imagination. I believe this fully, and because they are so different, and you know, an ordinal is totally fungible. I mean, if you just start right there, it's still a sat. It's a special sat, you know, but it's still a sat. You could still trade that. You could still give that to someone else, and it's got an agreed upon value where an NFT doesn't. So, but the differences don't end there. And I think what you guys are doing with narcotics really highlights this to a big degree, and not just the way that you can kind of become more than just a retail collector by, you know, participating in this game. But what else do y'all kind of, what can you talk about without giving too much away in terms of what can what can the users expect as they begin to collect their digital pills and see their different compounds and see how they work together to make new things? What can the collector kind of look forward to here?
I mean, I think in terms of, you know, anything that is coming from This Is Number One is always got to focus on technology and on what's kind of coming next. And we're actually just this week, we're looking into this new BRC 721 standard that seems to be coming, which is allowing Ethereum NFTs to be burnt into ordinals. While we're not so interested in the burning process, because that's not so much what interests us, but that mechanic really interests us. You know, the idea of, because what we want to do is find ways to create a single system that allows people to own ordinals but participate in a layer 2 and help build a layer 3, but all in the same system. So we're very interested in looking at ways to link the collections. We don't want to just sort of say, okay, that did exist there and now it exists here. We're much more interested in maintaining what this does, and then showing the advantage of perhaps having an element that is ordinal related, but then how that ordinal actually pays into the layer 2 and perhaps the layer 3. Yeah, I mean, I think anything could happen with what we're doing. We're always open to, like you said, you sleep for a day. I feel like we've been asleep for a couple of months because we've had our heads down so far into building this new system and website and everything that, you know, the ordinal thing kind of caught me unaware. I think I was in a chat when someone told me about it, and they were like, "Number One must know all about this." I was like, completely had our heads down. Things do happen really quickly, but I think the most important thing for working in this space is, you know, be prepared to pivot. You know, don't 100%. Get locked into anything too far. That is like, it's the death of a company sometimes. If you're locked in, you're like, no, we've started this and we're going to finish it, and you've got to know when to just let go and pivot and move on, because a new technology has perhaps just leapfrogged whatever you were already working on.
Yeah, don't want to be the next BlackBerry.
Right.
I mean, you said earlier about, you know, the VCR, you know, the whole CDs and mini discs thing, you know, that ultimately, you know, went kind of the wrong way, if you ask me. Mini discs was a far greater technology, but it was the Sony Panasonic thing, and, you know, the winner ended up being CDs.
Right. No, it's true. You tell us a little bit about what we're going to have to look forward to with Velar right now. I always encourage the people that follow me on Twitter and who read my stuff and watch this to go and beta test products. Really get to be a part of that process. It not only does it give you as a retail participant or an enthusiast the chance to kind of see how these things come to life, it's also a big help to the team. And it also helps form the community bonds, which, you know, Web3 is a buzzword that everyone, you know, gets sick of hearing, but it doesn't change the fact that what we're doing here does have a strong community component. and that is one of the defining differences between Web3, this iteration of the web that we're building and the iteration that we're accustomed to now. So what's going on in the Discord? What's going on with Velar? Like, just give the audience a reason to come check out, see what y'all are doing.
For sure. Thanks for asking, man. It's really interesting times, especially I agree with your point that in crypto, you have to build in public. That's the only way to do, because even like Jim mentioned, sometimes if you come up with idea, you are building a product, you get so engrossed, you don't see what's happening in the industry, right? And the community helps you actually in telling you what you should build next, what they need next. So building in community in front of it is really important. And Adam, you have been really supportive since day one, actually, since the day we launched our testnet in spreading the word. We are a strong community, actually. So till now we are completely bootstrapped. We haven't spent a single dollar on marketing or anything, and we have 600 members in Discord. They are very active. We are actually going through a funny time in Velar, because so since yesterday, yes, Stacks went through an upgrade, which is the Stacks 2.4 upgrade, and we lost all our smart contracts. So what happened was only on the testnet, not on the mainnet. The mainnet is working really good. On testnet, they had to do a reorg of the state of the Stacks blockchain, Stacks testnet blockchain, which lost all the data from last 2000 blocks, and our contracts were deployed on one of them. So it's just funny. Velar doesn't exist as of today. I'm just kidding. We redeployed already. Redeployed already. It's back live. But yesterday it was funny. I even tweeted about it. You must have seen me tweet about. I was trying to get in touch with the Stacks team. But exciting times ahead. We have incentivized testnet coming probably within next 10 days. That will run for 3 weeks, and incentivized testnet will come alongside other features also in Velar Dharma. So right now we only have on testnet the liquidity pools and the swaps live, but we have staking and IDO platform and farming coming next week on the testnet, and we start incentivized testnet. It will be really good for users, because they can become early part of the ecosystem as we grow, and post testnet immediately we go mainnet. So that's like early July we go mainnet with our it is first DEX on Bitcoin, which is a CPMM based AMM DEX. So it's a constant product market formula which Uniswap version 2 uses. So we are inspired by that. It's really it's still now the most that particular version has the most volume all throughout the crypto ecosystem. It's the most efficient way, I think, to manage liquidity pools. It's the best for users. Very less slippage, very less transaction fees compared to other liquidity management strategies. So that's why we chose it, and that's version 1. But as soon as we launch mainnet, it actually, our journey begins there, because right now we are just building the foundation of the infrastructure that we want to build in future. Because if a user comes in for the first time to Bitcoin ecosystem, he can be a project who wants to launch his token, then he comes to a launchpad, or he can be user who wants to buy his favorite token. That's why a DEX and a launchpad. But in July, we will, alongside mainnet, we will also launch our white paper for Velar V2, which is Velar Artha, which is with main component of which is the perp DEX. It will be one of its kind first perpetual derivatives exchange to launch with Bitcoin finality by end of the year, alongside Nakamoto upgrade of Stacks. So we are really looking forward to it, because as a trader myself, it was my bread and butter till now, trading perps on crypto derivatives exchanges. And I would love to put even my Bitcoin, which I am holding as collateral, to utility in case I have a small trade to make just for fun. A lot of people do that. A lot of people trade leverage just for fun in a safe environment, of course. But to be able to do that on your favorite blockchain, on the mother chain Bitcoin, in a self-custodial way, I think it's what crypto needs right now.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
of what
100%.
we've seen in last 2 years. Yeah.
It's very exciting.
I'm so excited about that. Mr. Wagme, I I decided when I started doing the podcast, especially, that if I was going to do something like this, what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring people the newest things to look at before anyone else catches on, before any of the big publications catch on. Um, I don't know how influencers amass such huge audiences, other than I think that there's just certain archetypes of people, and you have some of them that are just like that Alex Jones type archetype that can't help, no matter what they say, people are going to listen and get attention. And that's, I'm not going to do that. I'm trying to bring people things to pay attention to, that I think they can get the most out of. And so we're sitting here with, this is number one. We're sitting here with Velar. We're looking at these big changes. We're talking about how the guests and Nonish are building these new mechanics for NFT teams. What, it's Pixelated. I can't remember the name of their company. I apologize.
Procrastinate Pixels.
That's right. And the artist is just an amazingly brilliant guy, and tons of integrity. I have a immense amount of respect for the work he does in this ecosystem. And Megapont, they just released their it's not quite a roadmap, but just announcements on how they're changing the game just yesterday. And these are all really cool things. These are teams that people need to know about. And what say you? What along those lines? Like, what are you paying attention to? What do you think people should be paying attention to right now?
The big thing that I've really tried paying attention to is how trying to best understand this play between layer 1 and layer 2, and the best ways to deploy applications or collections. However, we get efficiency, we get speed, but we preserve finality. Because there's different ways I think people can deploy things. You start getting into the topics of indexers or centralized services. So then you ask, oh, am I getting speed, but am I losing decentralization as well with this potential way? And it's something that I've been going over for weeks now, and I'm still trying to better understand it. Because there's benefits to either route. So it's just trying to find that happy medium. And at the same time, log in every day and see what someone has made, because, who knows what comes in the future as well.
Yeah.
And there's even people that are doing some very interesting things with Ordinals. That's kind of like a second evolution of it, that I'm still trying to better understand. So for me, it's understanding that relationship between layer 1, layer 2, and because in my opinion, as far as I know, there is going to be a world where we have layer 1, layer 2, and most likely even layer 3. But as I look at that, is how do we preserve decentralization amongst these layers? That's what my goal is. But yeah.
even now, man, like when we get off this podcast, and I, during the day, as I, can get away from, family responsibilities in life, I have so much I have to check up on, so much I have to research. I have to, I still have to go play around with the narcotics website and see what I've missed so far. I have to see what Crash Punks is doing, right? I mean, they just had a Spaces where they announced a bunch of cool stuff. I have to check all these Discords. I have to. It's so hard to stay on top of everything right now. That if you're watching this and you're paying attention to the loudest voices on Twitter, stop. There's so much going on, and this is how you stay ahead. You pay attention to the builders, you pay attention to the teams, and that's how you stay ahead of the curve. And we're just about finished here. But before we log off,
Good.
yeah.
One thing to add to that, because that is a big thing I think on everyone's mind, and that's one of the things that led me to the Stacks community and just kind of the groups that we have on Twitter is connecting with people like that are on this panel helps with deciphering that noise. I gravitated so much to everyone because I felt like everyone was leading in the best interest of others, and I am a huge advocate for, if you just do what's right, success is a natural byproduct. There's people out there that are just being noisy to try and grab whatever they can. And, that's what I love about shows like this and, the other people that are, circulating in the ecosystem. So
it's the open source mentality. I think that was what really got me going with Stacks. And like Miffy said, it's like we're building in public. It's really important in these places, do it as openly as possible. Not only does it protect you from getting stuck in an unproductive loop, not realizing that actually you need to move on, but it also, you learn so much. The stuff that's still coming ahead. We're all sharing this stuff as well, and
right.
So then you don't have to pivot so quickly as well. You can be a little more, what's coming down the road. So I think it's really important to embrace that open community building vibe.
100%. Mithil, you have any parting words for the audience before we head out?
Yeah, for sure. I have something really interesting, because I told you what happened yesterday, right? Like Stacks didn't reorg, and a lot of dEPs. I understand we are still very early. There are like probably less than 50 dEPs on Stacks, but as we grow, like the miscommunication that happened even affected our community because they were not able to use the testnet. So we have decided as of today to launch what we call BTC Security Council. It's a closed group of industry leaders and security researchers, developers on Bitcoin, to basically be aware of all the vulnerabilities or exploits happening on Bitcoin. It is chain agnostic. It is it is L2 agnostic. It doesn't have to be Stacks. It's not related to Velar. It has nothing to do with Velar. But this group, I think, will be very crucial as we move forward and become a mature ecosystem about helping each other and keeping Bitcoin secure. So I would love for everyone on this panel to join that group that 100%. We have on Telegram. I'll send you the link after this call.
That's awesome, guys. Thank you all for coming and sharing your insights. And I hate that we've got an hour. We could definitely do more. So in lieu of that, I'm just gonna preemptively invite everyone to come back at another time so we could talk about these things some more. If you're not following these people, do yourself a favor and fix that. There's so much going on right now, and it's a very exciting time to be a part of this ecosystem. And yeah, thanks for coming, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you very much. Great.